this is a little insight into how the EV world might work in the future with a couple of people who are already doing it before we then ping out to BASF to get an insight into what they are currently up to. So please welcome to the stage James Allenby and Adam Thurman. Many would say best till last. I won't say that though, so that's what you told me to say. So no, thanks very much for joining us, guys. And again, hopefully we've taken everyone on that kind of journey today where we've looked at the data, we've had then kind of insights into what's happening in the real world. We got the perspective from the insurer, and now to you guys who have very unique business models at the moment in the industry. Fair to say, yeah?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So come to you first then, James. Just tell us a little bit about what you guys do.
So we've had quite an interesting journey, to be honest, in that we actually started life back in 2015 as the UK's first accident management provider, solely focusing on EVs. So we've kind of seen the evolution of the EV from the opposite way, in that we started out specifically as an EV provider. And it's been quite an interesting journey for us along the way, in that whilst we started as effectively a credit hire company, we've built out a lot of the services as the market has grown and matured to react to that. So we now have a range of services that include insurance, from full end-to-end claims management. We have our own fleet of vehicles, which runs to several hundred. We have our own EV repair specific network. And we're able to offer a range of services right into the marketplace to hopefully alleviate a lot of the concerns that have been spoken about today. I think it's probably fair to say that from listening to some of the topics discussed today, you could quite easily leave this room thinking EV is the demise of our industry. But I think for us, we've already gone through those pain points and we've learned and adapted and hopefully got some of the solutions for people who are sat in the room today who may want to be and get involved in EV, but I've got some concerns.
Yep. No, that's great. And by the way, it was never the idea for you to leave the room thinking it was the demise of the industry. It was quite the opposite, actually. So, Adam, a little bit about your business. Again, quite unique body shop set up.
Yeah, so EV Body Shops opened 2 years ago. So literally, I think Saturday was our birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So a dedicated electric repairer in North London. Obviously specialised in electric. I get asked all the time, probably about 80% electric.
Okay.
If you include hybrid, probably 85, 90. So we're heavily into it. The business is a little bit different to a normal body shop, and it's interesting listening to the bits earlier, really, where you might be seeing one or two repairs. We're seeing lots.
Yep.
And our body shop we don't have an EV bay. We are an EV workshop. Our technicians are EV trained, so I've got multiple levels. We have a whole process for when the car comes on site. So if we get a damaged vehicle off a recovery truck, we have quite a strict process, which I don't think VMs are really doing correctly when it comes to quarantine and things like that, which we've written ourselves. It's different, but it's repairing cars. It's not massively different. We're just set up slightly different. Things like Wi-Fi around the whole building, so software updates can be done anywhere. We've got data points, so if we need to plug the car in, sort of Cat5 cabling, we can do that. So technicians are really important in the sense that from a health and safety point of view, everyone in the business is a first aider. So if someone has a problem, because this is my concern, is it's going to take someone to get really hurt. When it comes to an electric car, if you're going to get hurt, you're going to get really hurt from it. So I wanted to make sure all of our team knew how to deal with it. That's what we do.
So the question would be then, with the anomalies, i.e. the ICE vehicles that come through, do they cause you any challenge? Does it blip the system in any way, shape or form?
No, fuel tanks can be a bit interesting because we have to kind of revisit what we used to know. But no, generally, the kind of, when you talk about software, components, most of the time, like talking today, there's a lot of things about when the battery's damaged, quarantine the car. The reality is that's a very, very small amount. It's a bit like shutting down the car. You don't do it a huge amount of time. You only do it when you need to do it. And we also position the car to do the shutdown. So we're not pushing it around the workshop. Obviously, if it's got a battery out of it, it's different. But if you're just shutting the car down to repair the rear panels, for example, we will put the car live again straight after the panel, so we can then drive the car around the workshop.
Okay.
Just from a health and safety point of view, really.
Yeah. Okay, so lots of learnings along the way. So come back to you then, James. So what, kind of have you learned? What myths, if you like, can you dispel from what you've probably heard today, or put people's minds at ease, perhaps?
For us, it's an interesting one, especially on the insurance side, in that when we've continuously looked and dealt with insurance for capacity on our own insurance book, it's interesting in that a lot of the reasons currently for not insuring vehicles or EVs were the same reasons I was given back in 2017, which is they all go on fire. They're all really, really difficult to work on. You can't get parts. They're expensive to repair. The customers are all a pain in the arse. And it's interesting for me in that we've, from our own experience and from working on EVs in the background, we've dispelled a lot of those myths, and we've actually got the data to back that up. But yeah, for me as an industry, we're still quite negative towards EV because it represents change. And I think the insurance industry as a whole is going through its own change at the moment and just sees EV as a distraction. But the reality is that we're sat in this room today and we're talking about when EV comes. It's already here. Mm-hmm. And it's been here probably en masse for the last 10 years, starting with the Tesla Model S. So going back to the question in terms of what myths can we dispel, did they all go on fire? No. We've never had one claim on an electric car that went on fire. Do all the batteries need to be replaced in an incident? No. I think we've had in 7 years one instance of a battery needing to be replaced, and that's because the lady drove the car into a lake.
Probably doesn't do it much good.
So again, whilst these situations that we've heard about today can happen, the propensity of it actually happening is very, very slim. And I think we need to take those examples and compare it to what you currently see on ICE vehicles. Mm. I think that gives a real good barometer against what the actual real world risk is. And certainly for us, as a claims management business and also an insurance business, working with someone like Adam, who's also got that real world experience for the same length of time that we've had, has been invaluable to us in able to run and price our risk accordingly, but also manage the claims successfully as well. Yeah,
really interesting. And so, Adam, in terms of, you've worked in traditional repairers over the years. You go in, you set up an EV-specific repair entity.
Yeah.
Is it a kind of blank piece canvas that you work to, or is it kind of picking up the best bits of the previous model?
Not really, because I've worked at different body shops, different groups, whatever, and with different VMs. And a bit like a lot of people here today, like me, they're probably 8-10 years into electric.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So with certain products, so you look at Golf GTE, because we talk about electric vehicles a lot, but obviously plug-in is a massive thing, and it's exactly the same from a repair point of view. It's the same risk. So I was quite heavily involved with Tesla early on, and I actually quite like the product. I think electric cars are quite cool. I am a petrol head, just so everyone knows that. Just the way the cars work, the way they communicate, the way you can, switch the car on in the morning, you can see where it is, you can set the charge rate, whatever you want to do, set the climate, you can do all those sort of things with the car. So I think EV is the future, but it's here, and we've been working with it for quite a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you don't have to qualify that you're a petrol head, by the way, just in case.
Yeah.
I know there's some in the room, but I know with your electric, your EVs, with Tesla, my kids, God, there's no better giant living PlayStation than a Tesla kind of thing. It's an amazing piece of kit. So, yeah, you can absolutely understand how they get into the psyche of generations, perhaps to come after ours. Anyway, so is there anything that we haven't touched upon today that you think, is pertinent to the industry, perhaps something to bear in mind? And that goes to both of you, whether it be, equipment in the workshop flow, whether it be relationships between you guys, the things that you think actually, this is a really point worth making.
I think for me, as an industry, we need to collaborate more. obviously we've spoken today, and there's various different segments of the industry in here today, whether insurers, repairers, accident management companies such as myself and whoever, but we're all quite siloed as an industry generally. And I think for me, when you look at where the insurance industry is as a whole, and also in particular the claim side of the industry, there's a lot of problems, and that incredibly frustrates me, because you listen to the rhetoric from insurers and it's, yeah, claims costs are going up, cost of repairs are going up. A lot of it is cited due to the fact that it's EV. But actually, when you're working with claims on a day-to-day basis and you're working with the insurers, you're seeing a lot of the inefficiencies are actually not due to the car or the lack of repairers, but it's actually at the insurers themselves. So I think for me as an industry moving forward, we need to be a lot more in working with experts in our respective fields, being a lot more collaborative. I think the guys from Direct Line and LV, for me, nailed it in terms of their outlook, but they're in the minority. But for me, certainly EV represents what was a fantastic opportunity to make some seismic change in terms of how we run as an industry. You know, we've been using the same one-size-fits-all claims model for the last 30 years. It doesn't work anymore. And it's not necessarily just with EV. You know, we talk about the new technology, but a lot of this technology has been out for a number of years, and it's already crossed over to non-EVs. So it's no longer it's an EV, it's just new tech, and we need to do something different. And I think if we, as an insurance industry, if we can do the front end a lot better in terms of being more efficient, working collaboratively with the correct partners, then those delays that we're currently seeing, which obviously then increase key-to-key time, claims journey time, high car cost time, well, I'm probably not really complaining about that myself, that will have a net positive impact on the overall experience of the industry.
I think it's a really interesting point, because with challenge comes opportunity and innovation. So if you leave this room thinking actually that EVs could be the catalyst for change in a positive way, I think everyone's in a good place with that. And from your side, Adam, again, are there experiences that you've had with EVs along the way that you actually think, this is well worth, other repairers knowing or work providers? Or
so something we do that's maybe a little bit different to some, that we have service level agreements with our dealer partners. So if we need a master technician to do something on a car, they'll either attend site, or if the car goes to them, they guarantee to work on that car within 24 hours. Because you find that once it goes to the dealership, it disappears for a week or two. So that's a really important thing for us, because it's about controlling the vehicle.
Yep.
And obviously the minute it leaves you, you're not in control of it. And then from an EV point of view, something we learned a long time ago was that the customer journey. So electric hire cars or courtesy cars, really, really important. They have to be fully charged when they go to the customer. We cover nationally because a lot of repairers don't want to take the cars. So we pulled a car from Manchester a couple of weeks ago. But what we'll do with that customer is when we deliver that car back, if we drive it, we tend to drive them because of our kind of environmental policies. But we will rapid charge that car just before we get to the customer. So when we hand over to the customer, the car's charged. And that's a really big thing. So if you imagine as a customer, you have an emergency, the minute you get your car back, you can't just go to the petrol station and put fuel in it. So we try and do the best service we can for the customer.
Interesting. Little points of change.
Odd little things that you have to do,
Yeah, it's good stuff to know.
Sorry, because I think within all this today, whilst it's really, really informative, I think we forget that there's actually a customer's car that we're charged in some capacity of looking after and servicing. And that customer journey for us has got to be absolutely paramount to everything we do as an industry as soon as we take charge of it, whether it's insuring it, repairing it, managing it, it doesn't matter. So I think the little points like that are really, really important.
Yeah.
And playing on that point, customer expectations then. What have you kind of found out along the way there?
Tesla customers have a high expectation.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry, if anyone's got a Tesla. I think there's we refer to them as early adopters. So we were in the market when Tesla started selling the Model S. I think those early adopters who bought into the whole Tesla journey, there's a high expectation from those early adopters, as we refer to them. I think as the market starts to mature, the reasons for people buying EVs are starting to change.
Yep.
And the reality is, we can sit here and say it's all about environmental reasons. Yeah, it's very, very important. But actually, when you look at the demographic of who's buying vehicles, and I think it was on one of the earlier slides, it's company cars, it's company car vehicles, it's company car owners who are buying them because it's cheap to run. And that, I think, is one of the big, big issues, well, not issues, concerns that I think gets overlooked as us as an industry as to why someone's bought that car and what their subsequent needs are post-incident. And from my point of view as an accident management provider, it's actually providing a suitable like-for-like replacement vehicle. Otherwise, you're then into issues about taxation, for example, company car benefit, etc. So it's about that understanding and awareness and knowledge of what is that individual's customers' needs and wants.
I think that's a really interesting point as well. That's kind of one of those, dare I say it, from somebody sat on the outside looking in, it's kind of one of the forgotten aspects that somebody's in a company car, what could happen to their tax if they were put into an ICE vehicle. For the future then, Adam, 80% EV at the moment, you say, another 10% hybrids. What's kind of, the future projections for you as a repairer?
Well, because of our location, ULEZ, things like that, there is a bit of a thing around charging for London, obviously, because there's not a lot of on-street parking. But I think that market is growing fast anyway. So we cover a few Audi dealers that are a bit further out, and we're starting to see those clients now adopt. So we're seeing a lot more e-tron, things like that. So I also don't think I don't think it will go EV. I think there'll be a mix of all sorts. So hydrogen, synthetic fuels. I think the message isn't quite right. Personally, I think there'll just be a blend of all different types. So, we'll have to wait and see, won't we?
So will we see a hydrogen body shop open up your way?
Maybe. Still use electric.
Okay. So, yeah. And James, again, kind of, future for you, next few years, what does that mean as to you as a business and to us as an industry, I suppose?
I think as a business for us, we've always have been EV. We always continue to be. I think for us, it's about collaborating with the right partners within the insurance industry, the ones who want to move the industry forward for the better. I think there's challenges for legacy insurers who haven't quite understood what they need to do to change. Is there an opportunity for new insurtech insurers to come into the marketplace? I think absolutely. I think that's where you're going to see the biggest challenges. And I think for us, it's certainly about working with the best in the industry because ultimately you become the sum of your parts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Fabulous stuff from you two. Thank you very much. Now, you two are going to join us back for the Q&A in a moment, aren't you? So that's great.
I don't think we get a choice, do we?
No, you don't. So we'll let you off the hook for now. And so thank you very much to James and Adam.
Thank you.
Well done, guys. Thank you. Right, so we are going to have a little look now at what one of our partners and a huge global entity is doing when it comes to battery recycling. Again, this is kind of an indication that, yes, we know the vehicle manufacturers are investing in it. Yes, we know legislation is going that way. But what is the supply chain doing as well to support all of that? So got a little video from BASF, and then we will introduce Raúl of BASF to the conversation.
Our vision of the battery value chain is a closed loop to power a net zero future for e-mobility. With end-of-life battery and cell production scrap recycling, we secure a sustainable raw material supply to produce cathode active materials, which are a vital part of lithium-ion batteries. Batteries are a real treasure as they contain valuable metals. Sufficient metal supply and price volatility are a challenge. Tight regulations are emerging, such as the EU battery regulation that will take effect in 2025. We at BASF Battery Recycling not only reach these targets, but exceed them. With an increasing number of electric vehicles and the ramping up of battery gigafactories, the demand for recycling increases.
Okay, so hopefully Raúl is, he's in the room. There he is on the small screens. How are you doing?
Fine, very fine.
Good. Good to see you. Thank you very much for joining us from afar. So we've just played the the video. It's an edited version. We only played the 1 minute rather than the 3. So if anyone else wants to see that in more depth, it's available. So BASF, most people in this room know them, dare I say it, as a paint supplier, doing some great work in terms of environmental bits and pieces they're doing around the supply chain. What's the role in the EV value chain then?
Yeah, the BASF role in the value chain in total, and in total, the BASF is already present in many parts of the value chains of products that are used for the production of the EV. So actually, BASF has created solution in order to give responses to the challenges that we as a society were facing. The biggest challenge that we have now in front of us is the sustainable mobility. And in here, BASF wanted to be also about the solution. And that's why we created a business battery material and recycling. We have a global presence in North America, Asia, and in Europe. And we are currently building our office in Europe. Last week, we inaugurated our cathode active materials month beginning, and we are currently getting the base metal refinery prototype done and the black month production that we will be ready at the end of 2023 and beginning of 2024 approximately. Apart from these 3 months that I mentioned, we are also planning to invest on a large-scale base metal refinery that would serve us to load all the assets that we need to provide full service to our customers on the battery segment. Even as precisely with this I had for our assets today, we are already able to provide this battery recycling service to our customers from the production of the battery to its final recycling to the partner network that we have in kit. I would like also to mention here that BASF has a very important role in 2 very important initiatives, such as Global Battery Alliance and the Satellites.
Super stuff. Thank you very much indeed. Now, we've heard today here, Raúl, that effectively the solution for battery recycling is pretty much essential to this whole, if you like, economy of electric vehicles. And dare I say, at the moment, it's sort of the general feel is that's perhaps the missing link as we move ahead. So why is it, and we've probably answered our own question already, but why is it so important? And what are you kind of investigating, and how important is that circular economy?
We think we need to stick one topic on one thought in our mind. The future will be circular, but it won't be. We need to start anticipating and designing all the products and that's not different for the matter. If we just look at the methods that we use for the production of the batteries, they have a limited availability. If we look at the energy resources or the natural resources that we are using for mining those metals, they are non-existent. Therefore, the carbon which is generated in the mining is quite intensive. Recycling is playing a big role because it gives us independence in terms of material availability. And in line with that, the EU Commission approved recently on the 14th of June the EU battery regulation, some of you have already heard of, that says that, for example, as of now, all industrial and automotive EV batteries need to be collected and treated. But there's one very ambitious goal, I would say, that is the recycling content of the metals that go in the battery that needs to be as of 2031. We are talking about a recycled content of 16% for the cobalt, 6% for nickel, and 6% for lithium. So circularity, it's a key matter in this market.
Some incredible numbers there, in fairness. And you've already mentioned the expansion across Europe for your sort of recycling centres. So what is being projected across Europe in terms of expected growth, how much scrap, if you like, will be generated, and therefore what needs to be recirculated?
Yeah, so if we look at the current announcements of the factories that we see in the market or in the news, we can say that there will be around 50 factories in Europe that will be having more or less 2 terawatt hour of production capacity as of 2030. And turn that into scrap, we'll be talking about 1 million tons of waste. And what we understand by waste is cells, anode, cathode, or any type of a battery byproduct. As I said in my last answer, circularity plays a major role. Here, if we want to support the EV development, it's key that we recirculate all this scrap, because at the beginning, so in the ramp up of the EV, the main waste stream will be coming from the waste factors. Then in some years, the projection will be different and we'll be receiving the waste mainly from end-of-life batteries. But we are talking about 15 years from now.
Well, it sounds like a huge project and undertaking that you've got going on there. And in terms of who you kind of work with, who are you working with on these kind of projects? Who are you collaborating with?
Yeah, so we are working with every company who's in contact with end-of-life batteries or damaged batteries. And of course, we are directly working with the main sales suppliers at the main OEM in Europe. So the workshops would be one of our working group, I would say, because of course, in the future, we expect that there will be a lot of end-of-line batteries going out from there. And we have the capacity to collect also these batteries. We have a tool in place, which is called BASF Battery Portal, that is kind of e-commerce, which is making the life very easier for the workshop manager to just ask for a pickup for this battery.
Interesting, because that's a subject matter that I think was raised earlier today here in terms of salvage in the UK and what's happening with batteries at the moment. So no doubt your UK colleagues will be reporting back in due course, I am sure. Raúl, thank you very much indeed. If you could just stay on the line and join our Q&A in case anyone's got any questions for you, that would be fantastic.
Of course.
Big round of applause, please, for Raúl.